Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of viewer question answers in the Witchcraft and Tarot series. So I'm going to answer one question from YouTube, and then I have a few questions to get started on from Instagram. Guys, I got a lot of requests, so with some questions to ask. So there's probably going to be more than just 4 installments in viewer Q&A. And if you do still have some questions that you want to ask that you'd like me to address, you can feel free to leave your question in the comment section down below or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I will be happy to add them to the list of things to answer. So, and I also wanted to say, thank you very much to the people who were like, oh, we like having longer videos from you, Racine, because, you know, the 15-minute format is tricky sometimes. So I will try to do a nice mixture of shorter videos and longer so that everyone kind of gets to have whatever experience they'd like to with the channel as far as the amount of time that they watch a video. So the last question that we had kind of ended at was pendulums and Ouija boards. And I'm going to speak to my personal opinion here. And so this is totally my personal opinion. If you have a different experience with this, then please trust your own intuition about working with them. I consider pendulums and Ouija boards or spirit boards to be different things. Pendulums, I have watched people who are really, really gifted with pendulums. Like they can do entire readings with them. Pendulums do not work with me. And I learned a long time ago, do not try to force it. Don't try to work with pendulums. Like tarot is a much clearer structure for me to work with divination than pendulums. However, in the right hands, and this is why it's always good to play around with different things that work for you, play around with different things and see what works for you. Because pendulums in the right hands with the right person can give a beautiful big picture reading, but also clarity on yes or no questions. They're wonderful divinatory means, again, in the right hands. So you have to try different things when you start, and then you'll see what fits for you and what doesn't. Like, you know, again, for me, tarot is where it's at. If I'm going to use something else as a tool for divination or to clarify what I'm channeling, it's always going to be tarot in my book. Ouija boards or spirit boards, I have a very hard no on these. I don't touch them. And I don't want to be in the room when someone touches them. And primarily because I had the only frightening experience that I've had in my life when it comes to channeling and experiencing that, having someone read for me, happened with a spirit board. And so I'm just going to speak a little bit to that, and then I'll just offer some advice for you, like if you're looking at working with them. When you are working with a spirit board or a Ouija board, it's kind of like open season for spirits, and I tend to attract a lot of energies. I'm sure others of you who have similar abilities to what I do have the same experience. So I'm in no way saying that like that's a special thing or whatever. But I had sat down for a session with a woman who read with a spirit board, and some of the things that came through, the energies that came through, were not energies I wanted to talk to at all. And she had no ability to shut them down once they started. I actually had to shut the session down. And so for me, I do not touch the boards. I don't go near them. I don't want them in my home, and I don't practice with them, and I don't want anyone else working with them in my name. Just because what I found was anything came through. It was open season for spirits. And so what had started as I thought communication with a grandfather of mine went way off the rails, and the reader, the channeler, could not bring it back, and she ended up getting kind of taken over by the energy. So I would say spirit boards are no joke. I feel that they're very, very real tools, and just be aware if you decide to work with them and you want to see how they work with you, make sure that you have I would have a very strong circle set up, and I would really have a fail-proof way to be able to come back in if something takes over. So those are just my personal thoughts on Ouija boards and spirit boards. I don't touch them, and I don't want them in a session for me. It's not anything I want around me, but that's just personal experience. I know some people have great experience with them. I would say Ouija boards aren't the only option. You also have spirit board options. Like there's quite a few of them. So if it is something that you feel like really speaks to your skill set as a reader, explore other options too. You know, I know Ouija boards are the more popular, but there's all kinds of beautiful boards out there. They're beautiful artistic expressions for sure. Okay, so that was my answer to that. Again, to go back to the pendulum thing, if I wasn't clear enough there, try it out and see. For some people, they work like a song. For me, they don't move. They won't move. But for other people, I have seen the most beautiful and had lovely readings with them. So, you know, for myself with them. So definitely explore that if it's something you feel called to. And I think working with stone or crystal pendulums is really beautiful as well if you feel called to do that. So from the Instagram, and I just made some notes for my Instagram question, so that's what I'm referencing right now. I was asked the question, how do I commune with deity? Do I see and hear them, or is it all in the mind? I thought this was a really great question. So the way that I see them, it's very 3D, and it's almost like I step into a space with them, and it's like they're very, very real and I'm very real. It's like being in a movie, except I step into the movie and then I'm a part of the experience. So I see them, I hear them, I feel them, I interact with them, I engage with them, and it all happens in real time. So it's a very... it can be a very intense experience, and it's a very powerful experience, and it's very full. It's the whole thing. You know, the experience is all encompassing, which I think is why journeying works well for me, because I can be in a space where physically I can like move out of the body and have the experience and come back in safely. So if you're someone who tends to experience your psychic ability really full force, full throttle, then probably how you're going to connect with deity is in a very similar format. So I would say how I experience them is through that really powerful, like they're another person and we're talking together in the room, except that they're deity or they're a guide or they're another entity. So if you do not have that experience right now, there's nothing wrong with having a different experience. We all intuit, and our gifts come through unique to us. So don't feel like, well, if I don't have like a movie experience with them, like it's completely 3D and it's immersive and I'm in the space with them and it's like the two of us are actually physically in front of each other. Don't feel like you can't commune with deity or you can't have a relationship with deity. Again, work with your strength. So if you hear them, then keep building that. Move in the direction of hearing. Don't worry about the fact that you don't have a visual. The visual will come in when it's supposed to. If you have a visual but you don't hear things, go in the direction of the visual. If it's more like a knowing, trust the knowing. The most important piece in this is move in the direction of what you feel instead of trying to make it look a certain way. That's the most important piece. And the other most important piece of this that I really don't think we pay enough attention to is that imagination is your intuition as well. Now, I'm not saying that they're always the same thing, but they play together very beautifully. And so if you don't know for sure if it's happening, pretend. See what happens. Engage with the imagination. That brings out the more curious part of yourself anyhow. And it will help you relax a need to control the experience and want to have it be a certain way. So I would say if you're really struggling and you feel like you get a total blank, go ahead and use your imagination and pretend and see what happens there. At the end of the day, if you look at it all as an expression of the divine anyhow, even if you're pretending, it's still an expression of yourself. So it's like, you can't really fuck that up. So just move in that direction. And then once you ease the control, the need for control, then some really magical things start happening in regards to your intuition, and you can really start trusting the intuition. So if you feel like you're struggling with that, try going in the direction of imagination. And the last question I'll answer in this video is, how do you know that the goddess you're connecting with is your patroness or the god is your patron? I thought this was a really good question, and it's something that I get asked a lot. So how you know, there's a few different things that can happen. One is the goddess won't leave you alone. So she keeps giving you very clear signs. So like I said in the previous video, you make a date with her and you hang out and you get to know each other and it's going really well and you're falling in love and it's really fun. And then they stick around. So, and then you really feel yourself building the connection with them, and you have an awareness of how deep the connection is. So like for me with Ices, it's like, it's the you know, when it's your patroness versus just an aspect of deity that you are learning a lesson with, who's acting as a spirit guide for you, who might be coming in and out of your conscious experience, because it feels different. It feels like, I'm trying to find the right way to describe this, because it feels like Ices is my best friend and she's my mother and she is confronting when I need her to be, and she's always there. Like she's never not there. I've never, since she came through, I've never not felt her, or if I was working with another face of deity and I needed her and asked for her, not had her show up. Which is why I always say she's ride or die. And I mean, that's like kind of, it's a fun phrase to use for it, but she actually is. I've never had her not be there since I started working with her. So she's my patroness. She's my patroness because we have an intense, intimate connection together. And in everything I do, when I step into my work, I do consider myself a priestess of Ices, in that like it's all in her name. So when, like before a session, when I'm lining up, and you see me do this because this is literally how it feels to me, like before I do any session, anywhere, anytime, I connect in and I do this, and I feel myself connected in with her. And I will say, in your honor, in your name, I do this work, right? So it's a very beautiful relationship that grows in its depth and scope over time. And it just feels like home. And you know that it's going to continue to grow. And that's how you know that that's your patroness over like I love working with Venus, and I love when she comes through and we have a wonderful glass of Prosecco together and we can pick out a great outfit and have a lot of fun. And she's probably going to teach me something that I need to learn, especially around relationship, right? And I love Venus and I love working with her and I love honoring her, but Venus comes in and out, and she shows up when she wants to show up. And when she doesn't show up, I don't force it. Whereas with Ices, it's all the time. And when I call to her, she will always answer. And it's this feeling, it's very difficult for those of us who have a patroness to describe it sometimes, I think, but it's like the depth of the relationship, there's no other feeling like it. It's an ecstatic experience. It's an intimate experience. It's a beautiful experience. Like if I'm just falling apart, I'm going to talk to Ices. Like she's the one that I'm going to sit in front of my altar and I'm going to be like Ices, and I'm going to cry it out with her for a couple hours or a couple minutes or whatever it is, right? And like she's there for that. She will always be there for that for me. And so once I realized that and I was like, oh, okay, she's sticking around. This is us. Like this is us in this together. Then I went into ceremony to dedicate myself to our connection and to working in her honor. So, but I didn't do that immediately. And I do think there's a piece with that. I do feel your patroness or your patron picks you. And then you start to get hip to it. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, nope, this is her. And I'm working with her and this is what we're doing. Okay, so I would say how you know is that. If you're not feeling your version of that, then you're probably working with a guide who will come in and out beautifully. Like Ma Kali Ma is one of those goddesses for me as well. I love her and we work together, oftentimes for months at a time. But Kali is not my patroness. It's different. It feels different. So you'll know. When you find that, you'll know. And some people do not have a patron or a patroness, and that's okay. Don't try to force that. Like that will come when the time is right. Or you have this beautiful buffet table of gods and goddesses who are showing up to hang out with you. And you can just move in and out of those connections and still have deep connections. So don't feel like if you don't have a patroness or you haven't had that experience yet, something's wrong with you or you're not doing it right. Don't worry about that. Because even with a patroness, you're still probably going to work with other forms of deity, because when we're moving through different times on our path, We need those lessons from different forms of deity. When you're in the dark, Hecate and the Morrigan, they're going to see you through that dark. They're going to help you find the light, right? When you're in the light and you're in, your full moon zone and you feel great, well, then someone like Venus or Isis might show up and work with you, right? So for all these different phases, different goddesses and gods will show up. So don't force the patroness piece, but when you find it, you'll know. You will know. There will be no doubt in your mind. I've never been like, is Isis my patroness? It just kept building, and I was like, oh yeah, we don't go back from this. This is where we are. And I love her. I love her deeply, and I'm deeply grateful and honored that I get to consciously connect with her in this life again. It means a lot to me. So let me see. I said that was going to be my last question, but I got a couple more minutes here. So what to ask tarot when you don't have a specific question or situation? So if I feel like I need to pull, but I don't know what I want to pull about, I will just say, what do I need to know right now? What do I need to know right now? And I'll see what I get from there. I'll also ask, what do I need to know about myself right now? Another question I like to ask is, how am I actually feeling? Because I sometimes will struggle with like, what's my feeling and what's someone else's. And so tarot, if I don't know anything else to ask, but I feel like I need to work with tarot, I'll always get beautiful clarity from that. So, what am I actually feeling right now? What are my actual feelings? If I'm not sure what to ask tarot, I might say, where am I on the wheel right now? But what space am I in? And I'll see what I get for cards that gives me insight there. I like to have some type of a direction because tarot is a tool. So if I just like lay a card down and I haven't had any focus, but I was thinking about, I don't know, the burger I had for lunch or whatever, sometimes that can get really nebulous and like wide open with interpretation, and it can kind of lead you into a skull fucking place in your mind where you're like, what the fuck was the tower? Like, I wasn't thinking about anything. I just threw the tower down. Like, I don't even know what that relates to. So I like to have somewhat of a direction when I pull for myself, especially. But usually it will just be like, what do I need to know right now? And that always works very well for me. So if you're sitting with that and you want to play more with your tarot deck, but you don't need to ask something specific, I would move in that direction. So, all right. This has been the third installment of your question and answers. This is so much fun, guys. You guys have asked me some awesome questions. And for the fourth installment, we have some great ones coming too about working with the Fae and other questions along spiritual practice lines. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you all for that video as well. Much love and many blessings, guys. See you in the next video. Bye.